you guys are staying nice and warm out there. This video is going to be about education. So you want to be a teacher. This is another College 101 video, and it's basically to address people that want to be teachers. You grew up and you had some teacher that really affected your life, or you just love children and you want to be a teacher. So you go to college, you major in education, and then the latter part of college is when you actually start your student teaching. And by then, you have already invested time and money and energy into your major. And that's a little late to really figure out if it's something you really want to do or not. So this video is really geared toward helping you really think about everything you have to do as a teacher so that you can determine if you really want to do it or not. I was a teacher. I was a science teacher for 2 years, so hopefully this can help you. Just to give you a little background information, my major was science related. I did not have an education degree, but I was a teacher. Some states will allow you to teach without an education degree. They will allow you to teach on a non-renewable teaching certificate that basically is like an agreement with you that you are going to work toward being certified to teach in that state. Every state is different, so you have to find out the requirements for your state. But I know that there are lots of states across the country that allow you to teach as long as you have a bachelor's degree. You don't have to have a degree in education. So that's the first thing. I have some things written down to kind of help me focus this video for you guys. The next thing is subject. What subject do you want to teach? I was a science major or science-related major, so I taught earth science. I taught 6th grade. You really want to think about what subject you want to teach and if you will be happy or unhappy if you can't teach that subject. Some elementary schools, those students have like a teacher that teaches history, or some schools, if you're the elementary teacher, you teach everything. So keep that in mind. Are you going to be happy with your job and your life even if you have to teach a subject that you might not necessarily want to teach? Grade level is very important too. Try not to restrict yourself too much in case there are openings in positions with grades that you don't want to get a degree that's like pre-K to 2nd grade, because if you want to live in a certain area and they don't have any openings for pre-K to 2nd grade, but they do have an opening for 3rd grade, you're not certified to teach 3rd grade, so you are left without a job. So if you want to do elementary, stick to that. If you want to do secondary, 6th grade to 12th grade, stick to that. Try to be flexible. And again, think about it. Are you going to be miserable if you have to teach 12th grade English and you really would prefer to teach 6th grade English? Think about it. That's the reality of the situation. In different school districts, they may not need what you have to offer specifically. So try to be open with that. The next thing is specialization. After you get your initial teaching degree, you can specialize in different things. That can help increase your income as a teacher. A lot of times, a lot of my colleagues went back and they got their master's degrees or they got their specialists in something, and that allowed them to earn more money. A lot of times people say there's no money to be made in education, and I think you really just have to research your area, the pay scale in your area, and what you have to do to make yourself more marketable to increase your income, because if you have student loans, you want to be able to pay your loans back and still be able to live comfortably. Master's degree programs. A lot of state schools have master's degree programs in education. Most universities offer them. There's also universities online that offer masters in education, and if you get your master's, you do get a pay increase most of the time. You really have to research the information as it relates to your school district. The last thing you want to do is go back and get a master's degree and then find out that you're not going to get a step because your school district doesn't increase the pay rate for master's degrees. So before you invest, make sure that your school district will increase your pay after you get your master's degree, because you would have accrued another $10,000 to $20,000 in debt getting that degree, and you want to make sure that you can pay it back. Your salary. Salary is very important because you need money to live. And again, all of this information can be found on the school district's website. It'll tell you what the salary is for a first-year teacher with a bachelor's degree, a first-year teacher with a master's degree, and your first year if you have a PhD. You may be thinking, well, PhD, after you get your PhD, you don't teach in a public school. That's not true. I had a few colleagues in my school who had their PhDs, and a few of them that were getting them, and they were not planning on leaving public education. They're going to stay and remain in public education with their PhDs. A lot of times this is because the public school system may offer you more money than a university would offer you with your PhD. Again, it depends on the school district that you're in. Not all school districts pay equally. A lot of things factor into that. what the cost of living is in your area and things of that nature really factor into how much they can pay you. The next thing is a coach or a specialist. A lot of schools have literacy coaches, math coaches, science coaches. They have educational, instructional specialists, and things like that. So if you find that your interests are outside of the classroom, or that your interests are kind of specialized, you're really good at math, and you want to help cultivate other teachers to make them the best teachers that they can be so their students can reach mastery, so that their students can achieve in the classroom, then that may be a better fit for you, but you have to find out what those school districts have to offer their teachers as far as resources go, and you can serve as a resource to help those students bring their grades up in those subject areas, and to also help your school district look better because your students are doing better academically because of the resources that the teachers are using. The next thing is resources for your classroom. Do you have enough money to set up your classroom? You may get a job in a school district that doesn't have any money to help you get the things that you need for your classroom. If you're a science teacher, do you have all of the supplies that you need, or are you going to have to go and purchase the supplies? Sometimes I did have to purchase things. I didn't have to purchase everything, but sometimes I did. Sometimes there are very simple things that you can do as far as labs are concerned that don't require a whole lot of money, but they do require some of your money. And you have to be realistic with yourself. A lot of times teachers spend their own money on things like paper and scissors, and I was a science teacher, so I'm thinking of things like salt and food coloring and different containers, and I had to buy candles and lighters. I was an earth science teacher, so of course we were doing things about atmospheric pressure and things like that. I bought balloons. Just different things that you find that you're going to need for your classroom. And if you are comfortable spending money to do your job effectively, then you have a good idea of what it takes to be a teacher, because you are going to spend your own money. And sometimes I can see how easy it would be to be really resentful of that if you are a teacher and you have really tough students that seem not to care about their education, or they don't seem to be that invested. It can kind of be hard to spend money on them when they seem unappreciative, but that can be the reality depending on where you work. Donors Choose is a really good way to let people know what you need for your classroom. A lot of times people want to give back to education and they want to help, but they want to know specifically what their money is going towards. And Donors Choose is a great way to do that. I know people that have used it effectively and have gotten really great results for their students by using Donors Choose. So definitely check that out and use it. If you're a teacher and you need things for your classroom that you cannot afford to buy, you can't afford to buy everything yourself, especially depending on the kids. Some people have 100 kids every year. Some people have 100 kids a semester. Some people have 15 kids a year. It just depends, but still, you can't do everything by yourself. Time off. And this is one thing that I did want to talk about. One of the great things about teaching is that you get a lot of time off. You get time off in the summer. Well, it depends on your school. If you go to a year-round school, then that might not hold true for you. But if you go to a traditional public school where you get summers off, you get 2 weeks off for Christmas or winter break, and you get a week off for spring break, you get a lot of time off. And that can help you a lot if you have children. You want to spend time with them during the summer. You want to be home with them while they're home from school. If you want to travel or do other things, be involved in other things that you really care about in addition to teaching. So that's one good thing to think about. On the flip side of that is when you're not off, literally, you work a lot. Teachers work a lot, and I don't think before you actually become a teacher, you realize how much teachers work until you are a teacher. The lesson plans take time. Collecting resources takes time. Learning the content that you have to teach. You might be asked to teach something that you are not completely comfortable teaching. You might have been a biology major, and you might be asked to teach earth science. Well, as a biology major, you don't learn anything about hydrology and oceanography. You don't learn about that. You don't learn about rocks and clouds and planets. You don't learn about that, but you are a biology major, so according to your state, you may be able to sit for certification to teach 6th grade through 7th grade. They give you 6th grade. They give you something you don't know that much about, and you have to learn how to teach yourself so that you can effectively teach your students. So that's something that you definitely have to think about as well. The work week can be typically long. You can work 50, 60, 70 hours. It just depends on how much work you have to do. Grades are very important. A lot of times now they have a computerized system so parents can see the grades, and they have a time frame for you to post your grades. So that's also something else that you have to think about. Are you grading the papers yourself? Are your students allowed to switch papers and grade, or is that against school policy? You have to think about things like that. Are you tracking data and putting that in a separate tracker in addition to posting their grades? Parents, are you able to communicate effectively with parents? Are you able to communicate when parents are angry because their child isn't doing well in your class? You have to think about things like that because that is real life. Organization, you have to be organized. There's so many tests and quizzes and homework and projects and rubrics, and it's going to take up some of your time to organize yourself so that you can have a system for yourself. But once you're organized, it will help you tremendously. It'll make your life a whole lot easier. Student behaviors. You go into teaching because you care about these kids, you want to help them, you love teaching, and it's something that you've always wanted to do. You think you'd be really good at it. But what about when students aren't receptive to what you have to say? What about when students are disrespectful? What about when students want to fight, when they come to class late, when they don't have their homework, when they don't turn in projects, when they're failing your class and nothing you do seems to work, when they walk out of class like it's okay and it's not? You have to think about those situations, especially if you teach in middle school and in high school. Their mindset is a lot different from students that are in elementary school. And if you're in elementary school, do you like singing at work? Do you like correcting children? Do you like teaching little people how to function as people? I don't think you really think about it, but in elementary school, a lot of what you do is help them learn how to function in society and work in a group with other people and how to get along with other people. So that's very important as well. So you really have to think about, in reality, what do teachers do every single day? And do I have enough energy to do that? Because it can be very exhausting. It can be very rewarding, but it can also be very exhausting. So I don't want to give you this impression that this is just the easiest thing that you could ever do with your life, because sometimes it can be really tiring. And the last thing that I wanted to talk about is motivation. What is your motivation for wanting to be a teacher? And do you want to be a teacher for the rest of your life? When you go to college and you major in something as narrow as education, but as broad as education, if you graduate and you don't want to be a teacher, what are you going to do with your degree? So really make sure that you have a strong foundation and strong reasoning for wanting to do this, and to have a backup plan, because sometimes you can get shocked. If you move to a place where the school system is a little tougher to work in, you are a teacher, and it's going to be your job to teach those students no matter where they are academically. So there's just a lot that you have to think about. So I hope that information was helpful to you. If you have questions or comments, please leave them below, and I will talk to you later.